You've just walked out of the office for the last time. 60 years old, retired, and holding a small box of desk things. $500,000 sits in your super account. On paper, that sounds like a lot of money. But it now has to do something it's never done before. Replace your entire salary for the rest of your life. So today, we're going to follow one man, one homeowner from 60 all the way to 85 and find out exactly what $500,000 actually buys. This is an illustrative case study, not personal advice, but every number in it is real and current. No mortgage, no debt. A single homeowner with a moderate lifestyle. The cleanest version of this question there is. Let's find out if 60 was the right age to walk away. The first weeks feel like freedom. No alarm, no commute, just a coffee, the ocean, and time that finally belongs to him. This is the part everyone imagines when they picture retirement. And for a while, it genuinely is exactly this good. He walks the coastal path most mornings now. No reason to rush anywhere for the first time in 40 years. The excitement is real. But underneath it, a quieter question is already starting to form. How long can mornings like this actually last on $500,000? Because eventually, the honeymoon phase of retirement always meets the numbers. So he sits down at the dining table and actually works it out. No salary landing every fortnight anymore. Just what's in that account? A modest, enjoyable lifestyle costs him around $40,000 a year. Groceries, bills, insurance, the odd trip, nothing extravagant. At a steady long-term return of around 5%. And spending that rises gently with inflation, $500,000 should last a long time. Should. That word is doing a lot of work in that sentence, and he knows it. Because superannuation after 60 comes with one genuine advantage. Withdrawals from a taxed fund are completely tax-free. Every dollar he draws out is his, in full. No tax office taking a slice on the way through. That's the good news. Now for the part nobody warns you about. Life still has to be paid for, every single week, whether there's a salary coming in or not. Groceries, council rates, car registration, home insurance. None of it stops just because the job did. He's not extravagant, he's just living. And living, it turns out, has a very steady price tag. This is the part that surprises new retirees most. The bills don't slow down just because the income did. Small costs, repeated every week for 25 years, become the real engine behind whether this plan works. It's not one big decision that decides this story. It's 1,000 small, ordinary ones. And the biggest ordinary decision of all is still 7 years away. Because here's the part almost nobody explains properly. Super and the age pension are two completely separate systems on two completely different clocks. Super unlocks at 60. But the age pension doesn't start until 67. That's a 7-year gap, and he's standing right inside it. For those 7 years, there is no government support at all. Every single dollar has to come from his own $500,000. This is the real pressure zone of early retirement, and it's the part that catches even careful planners off guard. So the next 7 years matter more than any other stretch in this entire story. Let's watch how they actually play out. The good news is, life during this gap isn't grim. It's just deliberate. A weekend drive, a picnic, a visit to the kids. These years can genuinely be some of the best of his life. If the spending stays sensible and steady, he picks up a cheap hobby instead of an expensive one. Gardening instead of golf memberships. Walking instead of overseas flights. Small substitutions like that quietly protect the balance without making life feel smaller. A visit to see the grandkids costs nothing but time, and he has more of that now than he's ever had. This is the version of retirement that actually works. Rich in time, careful with money. But retirement is long, and long stretches of time always find a way to test a plan. At 63, the hot water system dies. Then a few months later, the car needs real work. Nothing dramatic, just ordinary bad luck, landing at the worst possible moment, 3 years into the gap with no pension yet. These are the moments financial plans actually get tested, not by market crashes, by hot water systems. He absorbs it, it stings, and the balance dips a little harder than expected that year. But he keeps going. This is exactly why the buffer matters more than the average return. Averages don't pay for hot water systems in real time. The lesson isn't that something went wrong. It's that something always does, and the plan has to expect it. Fast forward to 66. His hair has picked up some grey at the temples, and so has his patience for guessing. 1 year left in the gap. The balance has worn down further than he'd like, but it's still standing. He spent 6 years funding his own retirement entirely alone, and the finish line to some help is finally close. There's a particular kind of tiredness that comes from being the only safety net for 6 straight years. But he made it. Bruised in the budget, but never actually broke. 67 is 1 birthday away. At 67, everything changes. The age pension becomes available, and for a single homeowner, the numbers work strongly in his favor. A single homeowner keeps the full pension with assessable assets under $333,000. Above that, it doesn't disappear. It just tapers gently, $3 a fortnight for every $1,000 over the line. His balance has drawn down enough over 7 hard years that he now qualifies for a genuine, meaningful part pension. For the first time since he retired, money is arriving that he didn't have to draw from his own balance. The pressure that defined his first 7 years of retirement finally, genuinely, starts to ease. This is the turning point of the entire story, and it's the reason those first 7 years mattered so much. Life at 68 looks steadier. A walk around the neighborhood most mornings, no longer rationing every single dollar in his head. The part pension doesn't make him wealthy, it makes him stable. And stable, after 7 lean years, feels like enormous relief. He still checks his balance regularly, but the checking now feels like maintenance, not survival. He can say yes to small things again. A dinner out, a weekend away, without the old anxious pause beforehand. This is what the honest version of $500,000 actually delivers. Not luxury, genuine, steady stability. These are good years. Quiet, comfortable, and finally not stressful. But retirement doesn't stay this simple forever. Nothing does. At 70, there's a backyard barbecue most Sundays. Family drifting in and out. The kind of ordinary happiness money alone can't buy, but stability makes easier. His grey has properly set in now, and honestly, he doesn't mind it. It suits the pace he's settled into. He's not chasing anything anymore. Just steady weeks, ordinary pleasures, and a balance that's holding roughly where it should. This is the reward for those first difficult 7 years. Not riches, just an ordinary life that isn't fragile anymore. He helps out with the grandkids sometimes, free, joyful, and worth more to him now than any luxury ever was. 72, and life is genuinely good. Modest, but good. The next shift won't be about money. It'll be about the body that has to carry him through the rest of this. By 74, reading glasses have joined the daily routine, and so have a few more regular appointments than he'd like. Health costs start quietly climbing in this decade. Specialists, medication, the occasional procedure that private cover only partly softens. None of it derails the plan on its own, but it does chip away at the margin a little more than groceries ever did. This is where keeping private health cover through the earlier years genuinely pays for itself. He's slower than he was at 60, but he's still here, still independent, and still managing his own life on his own terms. The pension, still arriving reliably every fortnight, is doing more of the heavy lifting now than it ever has. At 77, some nights he sits alone at the kitchen table with a cup of tea, doing the same sums he did at 60. The fear has changed shape completely. It's no longer, will I run out too early? It's now, how long will I actually live? Longevity is the quiet risk nobody plans a birthday party around, and it's the one that matters most in the end. His balance is far smaller than it once was, but the pension keeps arriving, steady as ever, filling most of the gap. He's not wealthy, he was never going to be, but he's not in crisis either, and that distinction matters enormously. 77 years old, still in his own home, still making his own decisions. That was always the actual goal. At 80, mornings happen slower. A cup of tea on the veranda, watching the street wake up, Kane resting against the chair beside him. He doesn't travel much anymore. He doesn't need to. Peace, it turns out, doesn't require plane tickets. The balance is thin now, mostly gone, but the pension has quietly become almost his entire income, and it's still arriving. This is exactly why owning the home outright mattered so much from the very beginning. No rent has ever competed with this budget. At 82, a slow walk near the coast most afternoons. Not far, just far enough to feel the sun and the salt air. He's outlived plenty of his own worries. The version of him at 60 who paced the dining table would be relieved to see this, 85 now. Still in his own home, still independent, still somehow entirely himself. $500,000, 25 years ago, bought him exactly this. Not luxury, a whole dignified, ordinary life. Modest, occasionally tight, never desperate, and entirely his own the whole way through. So here's the honest answer. $500,000 in super won't buy a luxury retirement. But for a disciplined homeowner, it can absolutely buy a decent one. The years that matter most aren't the later ones. They're the first 7, before the age pension arrives to help carry the weight. Get those years right, and the rest of the story tends to look after itself. This is general information only, not personal financial advice. And every figure here is an illustrative estimate based on current super and pension rules. Speak to a licensed financial advisor about your own situation. If you were planning your own retirement around a number like this, what would yours actually be? Let me know in the comments. Hit like and subscribe for more honest Aussie money videos. I'll see you in the next one.